Sometimes the biggest lessons about life, they show up in the strangest places. Today, we're going to dive into this really beautiful, short story. And believe it or not, the whole thing happens inside a single cup of coffee. So picture this, right? You're in this cozy little cafe, it's got that amazing smell of fresh coffee beans, and you look down into your cup. But it's not just, a swirl of cream. You see a whole world in there, a tiny sea of coffee, and something truly magical is about to happen. And sailing on this little caffeinated sea are two incredible ships, each one totally different, with its own personality. One was called the bitter coffee ship, and the other, this sweet coffee ship. Okay, so these aren't just names, right? They're who these ships are. They were complete and total opposites, and each one basically ruled its own side of the coffee cup. And the difference between them was, wow, it was night and day. The bitter ship, it had these dark, serious flags. It gave off this intense vibe, the kind that makes you kind of tense up when you take a sip. But then you had the sweet ship. It's total opposite. We're talking colorful, vibrant flags, this feeling of gentleness, and it literally brought a smile to your face when you drank from its side. But here's where it gets really interesting. Kind of paradoxical, actually. Even though they were so different, they made people long for the other one. If you had a taste of the bitter, you'd find yourself really wanting the sweet. And if you tasted the sweet, you'd get this little craving for just a hint of the bitter. It's like they were separate, but they weren't really whole without the idea of each other. So for the longest time, that's just how it was. Two totally separate experiences in one cup. But then, one day, that all changed. Something happened. A challenge was thrown down. It wasn't some big, loud announcement. It was just this quiet but powerful challenge that seemed to ripple across the coffee. Nobody knew who issued it or why, but the message was unmistakable. It was time for these two ships to finally meet. And boom, just like that, this peaceful little coffee cup becomes something else entirely. Those gentle swirls of cream between the ships? Nope. Now they were the churning, stormy waters of a battlefield. And neither ship was about to back down. Not a chance. Full of courage, full of confidence, they turned to face each other and started sailing right for the middle. It looked like a showdown was coming, one that could only end with one winner and one loser. But what happened when they met? Well, it wasn't the battle everyone was expecting. It wasn't about destruction at all. It was about transformation. Honestly, nobody saw this coming. Because as they got closer to each other, something really strange started to happen. The very things that made them who they were started to change. You'd think getting closer would make them more different, right? But instead, the lines started to blur. Listen to how this story describes it. The bitter coffee ship, and the intense, sharp one, it actually started to soften up. The closer it got to the sweet ship, the less bitter it became, and the sweeter it started to feel. And you guessed it, the exact same thing happened to the other ship, the sweet coffee ship, the one that was all about gentleness. It started to get a little bit of an edge, a new kind of depth. That pure sweetness started to mellow out, and it took on just a hint of bitterness. So when they finally met in the center of the cup, there was no epic crash, no cannon fire. It was a quiet merging. Right there, in the heart of the coffee, these two opposites came together. Not as enemies fighting it out, but like two missing pieces of a puzzle finally clicking into place. So instead of destroying each other, they created something completely new, a single perfect balance. Where before you just had two extremes, now you had one beautiful, harmonious whole. So what's this all about? It's a cool story, but what does it all mean? Well, this is where we get to the heart of it all. This is where the tale of the coffee cup gets really deep. From that day forward, the coffee in that cup was never the same. It wasn't a choice between bitter or sweet anymore. It was one single, complex flavor. Every single sip you took, you tasted both, the sharp and the gentle, all mixed together. And that's when the person drinking the coffee finally got it. Life isn't just about the good times or just about the bad times. It's not a string of purely sweet moments here and purely bitter moments there. It's the mix. It's the constant, tangled up combination of both. In fact, you can't really have one without the other, can you? So that kind of leaves us with one last thing to think about. If your life is like that cup of coffee, then maybe the goal isn't to get rid of all the bitterness or to only have sweetness. Maybe it's about appreciating the blend. So I'll leave you with this question. In the cup of your life, what does that balance look like? And how do you find the beauty in the whole mix?